What's up, y'all? Before I get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Majority of people who watch these videos aren't even subscribed. I make good content like this all the time, even after the finals are over. So make sure you stay around. But let's get into the video. We are 2 games into the NBA Finals, and as many of you could have expected, the Boston Celtics have taken a commanding 3-0 lead over the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I say as you can expect because this really shouldn't be a surprise to that many people. Boston had the advantage over Dallas in almost every single metric that you can think of. Of course, Dallas had Luka, the best player, and they had some good coaching and solid role players, but this Celtics team is just different, and they have been doing to the Mavericks what they've been doing to everybody all year. Yes, in comparison to actual super team and championship winning teams in the past, you can make an argument that this Celtics team isn't as strong as them, but this is still a pretty good Celtics team that throughout the entire year, they've been head and shoulders above the competition, not just in the East, but the West as well. Now, the Celtics' best player, Jason Tatum, hasn't had the best series, and we'll get into that later, but it really hasn't mattered. They've had Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Jrue Holiday to lean on all throughout the series. The Celtics bring a very balanced attack, and with Porzingis coming back, it kind of provided the extra boost that the Celtics need to really take full control over the series. Meanwhile, with the Mavericks, everybody outside of Luka has been horrible. Now first, let's start off with Dallas, who is down 0-2 in the series after coming off some pretty impressive series wins. Start off with a big one over the Clippers, then a big one over the Thunder, and finally a big and dominating win over the Timberwolves. However, flying back to Dallas, they're down 2-0, and now the odds of them pulling this off and winning the championship, the first one since 2011, have gotten a whole lot harder. Now, game 2 from the Mavericks was really just embarrassing in my opinion. They missed 8 free throws, gave up 21 points off of turnovers, and didn't take advantage of a very uncharacteristic 3-point showing from the Celtics, who shot 10 for 39. And on top of that, they wasted another big performance from Luka on the night where he was battling through a multitude of injuries. Ankle injuries, rib injuries, knee issues, and he still came out there and put on the show. Now then, of course, the question arises, why are the Mavericks struggling? The Mavericks role players were doing so well in every other series, but now they're playing the Celtics, it seems a bit different. And the answer is quite simple. The reason why they were so good is also the reason why they haven't performed to those highest standards. It's because of where their offense is set up. The Mavericks have been running a very heliocentric type of offense with Luka Doncic for the past couple of seasons, and it's been great for Luka. He puts up video game numbers like we just saw in game 2 and all season long. However, this type of system prioritizes getting players who can't really do much outside of what they're asked. Now, of course, the Mavericks have Kyrie Irving, who we all know is more than capable of creating his own shot, setting up shots for others, and doing things outside of what a typical role player does, but the rest of these players on the team are not, and it's simply because they're not accustomed to doing these things. You see, the thing about a heliocentric offense is you have 1 to 2 players who are doing all of the work, and all your role players are asked to do is shoot and defend. But when it comes to creating their own shot or shooting in other places on the court they're not used to, it gets kind of difficult because they're not used to doing these things. And how can you be successful in the postseason doing things that you weren't even doing in the regular season? And that's an issue that the Mavericks have run into. Luka is doing usually what he does, scoring one-on-one, creating out shots for other players, but the Celtics defense has forced their role players to start making plays, forced them to make advanced decision making and take shots outside of the corner and things like that. This has caused their role players to struggle because, once again, they're not used to doing these things. They didn't really do it that much in regular season. They haven't had to do it so much in the postseason. Now it comes to finals and they're having to do it. And of course, when you do something that you haven't done before, you're going to struggle. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Everybody from PJ Washington to Derrick Jones Jr. to Jaden Hardy is struggling to score against this Celtics defense because they're being forced to do things on their own. On top of that, Joe Mazzulla has done a perfect job in protecting Al Horford from getting on Luka on pick and rolls. Now, typically, Al Horford or Kristaps Porzingis would be guarding the big man. However, instead of guarding the big man, they're usually guarding whoever's sitting in the corner. And instead, you have somebody like Jason Tatum on whatever big is in at that time. This is amazing because not only does it allow Al Horford and Kristaps to sit in the corner and be closer to the rim and have a better chance at affecting a shot at the rim, it allows for somebody like Jason Tatum, who is a much better defender off the pick and roll, especially going against somebody like Luka, to defend them. And this works wonders because now Luka doesn't have as easy of a switch coming off, and he can't abuse somebody like Al Horford or Kristaps Porzingis like he did to Rudy Gobert. On top of that, Suns have done a pretty good job at running these role players off the three-point line or forcing them to shoot elsewhere on the court. Players like PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., they're pretty good at shooting in the corner, but anywhere else on the floor, they are not effective, and we're seeing that this series. Now, when it comes to a player like Kyrie Irving, I honestly do not know what is going on with him. Kyrie usually performs pretty well, and he's performed well all postseason, but now that they're playing the Celtics, he's struggling to make shots. Now, this could be due to him having to deal with some of the best defenders in the NBA. He goes from being guarded by Jrue Holiday one possession to Derek White the next to Jaylen Brown the one after that. And this has provided some pretty big obstacles for Kyrie to overcome just to make a play on the opposite side of the ball, and he's been struggling all series, which is evident as he is only averaging 14 points. And to make things even worse, he's shooting an abysmal 35% from the field, and he has not made a singular three all series. But, I mean, one could assume that Kyrie's not going to play like this all series, and going back into Dallas on their home floor, Kyrie could perform much better. But in that same breath, the Celtics more than likely aren't going to have as bad of a shooting night as they did in Game 2. So, you really just have to wait and see on that end. Now, when it comes to the Celtics, they have just been amazing, and it's been a collective effort. One player hasn't been outperforming any player, like probably you could say in the Indiana series with Jaylen Brown. Yes, Jaylen Brown's performed well, but Game 2 was a Jrue Holiday game. The game before that was a Kristaps Porzingis game. It has been an equal effort from the entire team on both ends of the floor. Nobody on the team has really struggled outside of Tatum. Defensively, they've been locked in, and they have a pretty good defensive game plan that has been pretty effective. Offensively, it's just been who's hot. Even Peyton Pritchard comes off the bench and he gives them a spark plug. And this is a big reason as to why the Celtics have this lead. Dallas had a lead to start off the game in Game 2, but they quickly lost it. All it took was the Celtics to go on a run, and next thing you know, Dallas is losing and they could never recover. And the Celtics have performed so well that it makes you think, will Dallas even get a game? Now, I think going back into Dallas, the Mavs are bound to get either Game 3 or Game 4. But this, with the way the Celtics are playing, I honestly don't know. The Celtics only really have one problem in my eyes at this point, and that's the performance of their best player, Jason Tatum. Now, Jason Tatum has not been horrible in this series. He's done very well on defense. He's done very well in setting up plays for other people, setting pick and rolls, rebounding. Jason Tatum has done everything well except for scoring. Jason Tatum is averaging 17 points on 31% field goal percentage and 28% from the three. He has not been very good at all this series when it comes to putting the ball in the basket. Now, hopefully he can step it up because this is the best player on this team. However, he hasn't been performing like it at all. And in a series like the NBA Finals, that's what you want from your best player, especially from somebody like Jason Tatum, who all year was hyped up to be an MVP prospect who has had many great performances. On the biggest stage, he's not performing like it at all. But of course, this is just from a scoring perspective. In every other avenue, he has been pretty elite. Hopefully throughout the rest of the series, he can get his shot back right and figure out some ways to put the ball in the basket so he can claim that Finals MVP and make a legit case for being a arguably top 5 player in the NBA. But who knows, this could either be a really long series, but the way it's looking, it's not very likely. But we can only sit back and watch. That's all I have for you today. Make sure you like and subscribe like I mentioned earlier in the video, especially if you enjoyed this one. I'm making content like this all summer, even going into the off season. And if you have any video ideas, make sure you leave them down in the comments and I might give them a try. But that's all I have for now. Until next time, peace.